Hello everyone, welcome to 27 and to my latest purchase. This is a 1959 Austin Healey Sprite. Isn't she cute? Well, isn't he cute actually? He's called Fred. So I bought this from a friend called Alex, who I met through the 964 crowd. And this is actually his mum's car. She had Fred from new. She bought him in 1959 and had him ever since. I'm the first person to own him after she did. I think there's absolutely nothing that compares to them in terms of having a car with a face. You know, these headlights, this sort of mouth, they just, you know, there's nothing else quite like an Austin Healey Frog Eye Sprite. They were actually designed for pop-up headlamps, but for cost-cutting reasons, they made them with these fixed lamps, and thank God that they did, because it's such an integral part of their character. Another cost-cutting feature was that the doors had no exterior handles. I think it's one of the only cars I've ever heard of that has that. So you have to reach into the car and pull the internal handle to open the doors. In the same way, there's no boot lid. The only way to access the boot is inside here through the back of the seat. Although not technically advanced, Sprites were actually trendsetters in at least one respect, and that is that this was built on a unitary body. This means that for the very first time, as a mass-produced vehicle, part of the body panel, so the floors and things like that, the transmission tunnel, were actually structural. This was a particularly cheaply spec'd car because it actually had no speedometer and no heater. But funnily enough, in today's market, that makes them much, much rarer and even more sought after. They started being built in 1958 and were built until I think until 1961 or 1962 in this configuration. After that they did a refresh which used a different design at the front. Doesn't look anywhere near as nice, I think. The plan is not to restore this car and make it pristine. I want to keep it pretty honest and pretty much as it is, but just get it going mechanically. So there's a few things that need to be done next. First is sorting out the fuel system so it can run for longer than a few seconds. Secondly, the master cylinder for the brake and the clutch is completely gone, so that will need replacing and changing. And I've already seen that the silencer is completely buggered as well, so it will need at least a new silencer, if not an all-new exhaust. Fred is a particularly interesting Sprite because it's a one-owner car from 1959. I know the family it comes from. It has a matching numbers engine, and it looks great. It looks really good, and most of the fundamental stuff is there. It has had, unfortunately, some questionable repairs in the past, in the 80s, and also it doesn't have very much history. Unfortunately, Alex's mum lost most of it, so I've got the owner's handbook and a handful of receipts, but not as much as you'd like to see really in a car like this, which is a shame. More annoying are the sort of 80s style repairs that were carried out. So there's definitely filler in these arches, which is quite a common thing to see, I suppose. The interior isn't very bad. I'm sure it's been retrimmed. Apparently the cars that came in cream like this were trimmed either in red or in black, and this is a green, but the interior isn't too bad. I sort of jet washed it all earlier on to clean it out because it was a little bit smelly. The seats seem okay. The sort of green vinyl is fine. So today's plan was just to get Fred started and see whether he would run. So we took the plugs out, put some oil in the cylinders, checked the plug caps, put some fuel in the tank, checked the distributor and the points, put a battery in him, and then tried to get him to go. And initially there was really no joy. We kept on turning it over, but it looked like there was no spark. We tried several times and nothing much happening. Tried again and no spark, and then I had a little bit of a brainwave. It's got quite an interesting ignition switch here, which has off, S and H on it. So I thought that actually meant off, S for start, and then you pull the starter button, and then the car would turn over, but it wouldn't actually start. So we did all that, we tried several things, nothing actually worked. And then I thought I'd read the instruction manual, and I read that the headlight switch actually has off, side lights and headlights, and I realised that I'd been trying to turn the car on by putting the side lights on. As soon as I actually switched the ignition on, he started right up. One thing before we go is I'm in two minds whether to include this as one of the 12 cars or not, and I want to know from you guys what you think. Should I do that or should I not? in many ways, it is one of the 12 cars because it is a car I've always lusted after. When I had my Alfa Romeo 1750 GTV, when I was younger and I looked at classics, I always loved the idea of having one of these. They are really cool, really good fun to drive as well. My friend Jago has one, so I've tried one and I really liked it. On the other hand, it's really very old, it's not very fast. To give you some details there, it's got a 948cc engine, I think, an A-series engine. It puts out 42 horsepower and it does 83 miles an hour and 20 seconds 0 to 60. So in terms of pure performance, certainly it's nothing that amazing. But it's desirable and it's fun to drive. So I don't know, I'm ambivalent. Let me know what you think. Should we include this as one of the 12 cars or not? Thank you very much for watching and see you for the next one.